So Hare Krishna devotees, today's shloka for the day is shloka number 2 from chapter 7. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyama sheshatah yajñātvā neha bhūyonyach jñātavyam avashishyate. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyama sheshatah yajñātvā neha bhūyonyach jñātavyam avashishyate. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyama sheshatah yajñātvā neha bhūyonyat jñātavyam avashishyate. Please recite after me. Jnanam teham savijnanam
Jnanam teham savijnanam
idam vakshyama sheshatah yajñātvā neha bhūyonyat jñātavyam avashishyate. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyamya sheshatah yajñātvā neha bhūyonyat jñātavyam avashishyate. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyamya sheshatah yajñātvā neha bhūyonyat jñātavyam avashishyate. Word for word meaning and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jnanam, phenomenal knowledge. Te, unto you. Aham, I. Sa, with. Vijnanam, numinous knowledge. Idam, this. Vakshyami, shall explain. Asheshataha, in full. Yat, which. Jnatva, knowing. Na, not. Iha, in this world. Bhuyaha, further. Anyata, anything more. Jnatavyam, knowable. Avashishyate, remains. Translation. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, phenomenal and numinous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know.
Nothing shall remain for you to know.
Okay, so we talked about how that in this particular chapter, the Lord shifts the focus to himself, and he also includes all of his energies, the various Shakti potencies, Jnanam and Vijnanam. So generally we understand that Jnana is knowledge that you learn by applying your mind, your senses, and your intellect. So then what is Vijnana or wisdom? So Jnana is knowledge, Vijnana is wisdom. Wisdom is that knowledge that you gain through spiritual practice. So it is direct experiential realization. The whole purpose of acquiring knowledge is for you to put it into practice so that that becomes realized knowledge. Realized knowledge is called Vijnana. So there is a difference between theoretical knowledge and realized knowledge. Theoretical knowledge is Jnana, which is what the Jnanis do. They focus on reading and memorizing and remembering the Vedic scriptures. But the true implementation of the learning happens when you actually practice Bhakti Yoga. So we gave an example yesterday that is there in the scriptures. So honey is kept in a sealed jar. And we have heard that honey tastes very sweet, that you cannot compare it to anything else. So unless we open that bottle and taste it, we will really not experience what that sweetness is. So similarly, the Guru gives us jnana, which is theoretical knowledge of the scriptures. Yet, we need to actually practice sadhana as per the instructions of the Guru, which will consequently purify our mind. Only then Vijnana or wisdom through self-realization will be attained. So Guru will give you a set of instructions. He will speak the truth to you, but he will also establish a process by which you can realize this truth for yourself. So unless we are willing to put that in practice in the form of our sadhana, then self-realization is not possible. So Vedavyas, after writing all of the scriptures, he didn't feel any satisfaction whatsoever. He was actually very morose. Then his guru comes to him, Narada Muni comes to him and tells him why he is morose. He has written all about the Vedic scriptures. The one thing he has forgotten to do, he has forgotten to glorify the Supreme Lord. He has forgotten to practice bhakti. So unless you do anything with devotion, it is not going to be fulfilling. So before he writes the Srimad Bhagavatam, Vedavyas immerses himself in direct experiential realization, which is called Bhakti Yoga. So until then, he was only able to write all the theoretical pieces. But to glorify the Lord, to describe the Supreme Lord, to describe his pastimes, one needs love. Because the Lord's pastimes are not theoretical. It's an expression of love when you describe the Lord's pastimes. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a shloka in the first canto, in the 7th chapter, I'm reading just the English translation. Through Bhakti Yoga, Vedavyas fixed his mind upon God without any material sentiments, and thus attained the complete vision and realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with his external energy, Maya, which was under his control. So, after Vedavyas practices Bhakti Yoga, then he is able to actually experience what this bhakti is really about, how sweet it is. So he is able to open that jar and taste the sweetness of loving service to the Supreme Lord. So in this particular verse, the Lord is telling Arjuna, theoretical knowledge and realized knowledge, knowledge about this cosmos and knowledge beyond this cosmos, he will himself give it. The knowledge with the necessary wisdom. Once you have achieved that state, there's nothing else that we need to learn about. But here, what is interesting is that in this particular shloka, Srila Prabhupada gives a slightly different meaning. So, different acharyas will interpret specific words differently. It does not suggest that their meanings are contradictory to each other. It is not. It's just the various flavors of that meaning. So here Srila Prabhupada describes jnanam as phenomenal knowledge. He translates it as phenomenal knowledge and vijnanam as numinous knowledge. So what is this phenomena? What is noumena? They are actually very philosophical terms. So, um, so we have to go into a much deeper study of these two words to really understand what it means. But in brief, phenomena refers to things as it appears to us. Noumena refers to things as they actually are, independent of our sense perception. So our senses perceive things in a certain way. That is called phenomenal knowledge. Noumenal knowledge is that same thing. If you remove the filters of human experience, what it actually is, that is called numinous knowledge. So it's only through studying the scriptures and through practicing this in the form of sadhana can you actually understand and experience the difference between the two. If you go to another acharya in our own parampara, where Srila Prabhupada actually refers extensively to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he defines it slightly differently. He defines jnana as Aishwarya Bhav, Aishwarya actually, and Vijnana as Madhurya. So the difference between the greatness of God and the sweetness of God. So you can see different acharyas will give different nuanced meanings of the same words, which doesn't mean one acharya's nuanced meaning is different from another acharya's. So Prabhupada describes it as what we perceive versus what is the actual truth. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur calls it, one is understanding the greatness of God through theoretical knowledge, and one is understanding the sweetness of God through realized knowledge. Important point is that the Lord is saying there are two aspects of this knowledge, and both the Lord says, I will give. Idam vakshyama sheshataha. Asheshataha means the Lord is saying, I will not hold back anything from you. I will reveal everything to you that you need to know. And what happens after the Lord reveals both these aspects of knowledge? Jnatavyam avashishyate. Nothing else will be remain to be known. So this is the essence of today's shloka. It's a little bit deeper shloka, and there's a lot of purport written on this. But we can stop by just thinking about the fact there are certain things that we perceive and there are certain things that is the actual reality and the truth. Our sense perceptions may add some additional filters that may take us away from what the real thing is.